April 1897, Parisian reporters filed into a lecture hall to meet Diana Vaughan. The celebrated convert claimed she had escaped a worldwide Luciferian order. Instead, Léo Taxil took the stage. He was a former anti-clerical publisher. His supposed return to Catholicism had made him an improbable champion of the faith. For 12 years, Taxil had fed Europe's secret rites, infernal correspondence, supernatural crocodiles, and powerful Freemasons allegedly answering to Lucifer. Bishops praised these revelations, newspapers echoed them. Pope Leo XIII granted him an audience. Then came the confession. Vaughan did not exist. Palladism was invented. The entire satanic conspiracy had been engineered as a test of credulity. The wonder was not that a gifted liar had lied. It was that so many educated gatekeepers had carried his claims forward, even after the stories turned absurd. That machinery is the real story, not the demons. Léo Taxil was already a manufactured identity. Born Gabriel Antoine Jogon Pagès in Marseille in 1854, he became a fiercely anti-clerical journalist. His instincts ran toward scandal, ridicule, and commercial timing. He attacked priests. He mocked Catholic teaching. He published provocative works built to offend believers and draw prosecutions. Authorities repeatedly fined or imprisoned him. Each punishment burnished his reputation among radical readers. Taxil grasped one useful law of mass publishing. Outrage becomes its own advertisement. His targets were exaggerated. His evidence remained flexible. His persona was carefully staged. He briefly joined Freemasonry. In 1881, he joined a Paris lodge. Expulsion followed soon afterward. That narrow experience gave him enough vocabulary to mimic an insider, nothing more. It offered no evidence of a concealed Luciferian hierarchy. More importantly, Taxil discovered how secrecy invites imaginative reconstruction. Outsiders could not inspect ceremonies directly, so fragments might be rearranged into almost anything. He would soon use that lesson on an audience hungry for confirmation. Taxil did not invent Catholic suspicion of Freemasonry. He stepped into a conflict already more than a century old. Popes had condemned Masonic associations since 1738. They cited secret oaths, religious indifferentism, and political networks operating beyond ecclesiastical supervision. By the 19th century, revolutions, Italian unification, secular governments, anti-clerical campaigns, all made Masonry a convenient explanation for Catholic political decline. Some lodges genuinely supported liberal or anti-clerical causes. Yet that visible opposition encouraged a larger and less defensible conclusion. Every hostile movement belonged to one coordinated command structure. In 1884, Pope Leo XIII issued Humanum Genus. It described society as divided between God's kingdom and another aligned with Satan. Freemasonry stood within that struggle. The document did not describe Taxil's future monsters, nor did it mention his imaginary priestesses. Still, its language created fertile ground. 1 year later, a notorious enemy of the Church appeared. He declared himself converted, then offered supposed proof that the feared spiritual conspiracy was literal. In 1885, Taxil publicly announced his return to Catholicism. The transformation looked extraordinary. A blasphemer had repented. He submitted to the Church and vowed to expose his former allies. Catholic audiences had strong reasons to celebrate. Conversion stories carried emotional authority. This convert had once attacked the same institution. Now it embraced him. The reversal magnified that authority. Taxil began publishing anti-Masonic books almost immediately. He mixed genuine ceremonial fragments with inventions, insinuations, and lurid interpretations. His past became an asset. Supporters saw someone equipped to expose the enemy. A former insider had paid personally for the truth. In 1887, Taxil received an audience with Pope Leo XIII. The meeting brought prestige, yet it did not officially signal Vatican authentication of every claim he would make. Publicity soon erased that distinction. A papal audience became a transferable badge of credibility. Taxil had found his ideal position. His notorious history did not diminish his acclaim. Instead, it made his repentance seem uniquely valuable. Taxil's earliest anti-Masonic books accused lodges of political manipulation, moral corruption, and a hidden hatred of Christianity. Then his allegations grew. Ordinary Freemasonry became only the visible shell of a more exclusive order called Palladism. Taxil claimed its highest initiates did not regard Lucifer as a metaphor. They worshipped him outright. Palladist leaders supposedly spoke across continents. They ran secret temples. They staged profane rites. And they quietly directed unsuspecting lower-ranking Masons who never glimpsed the true system above them. The arrangement solved a stubborn problem. Real Freemasons could deny seeing satanic ceremonies, yet those denials proved nothing. Only the invisible elite possessed complete knowledge. The theory thus became entirely immune to contradiction. Every missing trace now suggested deeper secrecy. Taxil threaded genuine names and places through invented offices, from afar. The resulting world seemed documented. Readers found dates, ranks, passwords, personalities, disputes, detail masqueraded as proof. Once Taxil had established this hidden order, he could place almost any event within it. The central invention remained safely beyond inspection. At the heart of Taxil's mythology stood Albert Pike. He was a real American Freemason, a lawyer, a former Confederate officer, and an influential author on Masonic ritual. Pike's complexity made him perfect raw material. Taxil recast him as Palladism's supreme Luciferian pontiff. His seat was Charleston in South Carolina. The city supposedly held a worldwide spiritual headquarters. Coded instructions and supernatural messages linked it to European lodges. Pike had led the Scottish Rite's southern jurisdiction, yet no credible evidence tied him to Taxil's cult. Conveniently, Pike died in 1891 just as the mythology grew more elaborate. The dead cannot rebut fresh accusations. Taxil and allied writers assigned Pike speeches, directives, even theological declarations. One claimed Lucifer was the true source of light. Later conspiracy literature recycled these alleged quotations again and again. Taxil's confession was often stripped away. The machinery's revealing, a familiar name anchors the fiction. An inaccessible archive shields it. Repetition obscures the source. Fabrication starts to feel like inherited knowledge. The hoax grew through serial publication, a format perfectly suited to escalation. Beginning in 1892, Le Diable au XIXe siècle appeared in installments under the name Dr. Bataille, presenting an immense journey through alleged occult Freemasonry. The project was connected to Taxil and physician Charles Hoax, whose precise role remains debated, but its method was unmistakable. Documentary language surrounded scenes of extravagant fantasy. Demons materialized during meetings. A supernatural crocodile played a piano. Spirits delivered messages through walls. One devil reportedly appeared as a gentleman before changing form. The absurdity was not hidden. It was presented with accumulated circumstantial detail, as though volume could substitute for verification. Illustrations gave impossible events a visual solidity. Serial pacing also prevented readers from judging the construction as a whole. Each installment promised another revelation, another witness, another chamber behind the previous chamber. Skeptics saw parody. Believers saw specificity. Taxil kept increasing the dosage, testing how far institutional suspicion could carry a story after ordinary standards of evidence had been abandoned. A conspiracy this elaborate needed more than hostile observers. It needed a survivor. Diana Vaughan emerged as an American Palladist of distinguished ancestry. She had broken with Luciferian Freemasonry. She moved toward Catholicism. Her memoirs and published statements described infernal ceremonies, factional battles, intimate contact with demonic powers. Vaughan also supplied what Taxil himself could never embody: innocence rescued from corruption. Devotional readers prayed for her. Clerics defended her. Her supposed conversion carried a link to Joan of Arc. French audiences found both patriotic and mystical meaning in that link. Yet Vaughan remained unavailable. Supporters claimed Palladist agents threatened her life and forced her into concealment. Letters arrived, but direct meetings did not. Images purporting to show her circulated. Yet the woman pictured was reportedly a typist associated with Taxil. The absence only deepened the legend. Every failed appearance confirmed the danger around her. Taxil transformed the basic weakness of a fictional witness, her inability to enter a room, into the strongest emotional proof that the conspiracy was real. Taxil's stories traveled through a distribution network already in place. Catholic newspapers summarized his books. Priests cited sympathetic articles. Publishers translated the material. Repetition across languages began to resemble independent confirmation. A claim printed in Paris might return through Italy, or Germany, or Spain. Now it carried the authority of foreign reporting. Influential churchmen praised Taxil's campaign. Some regarded Diana Vaughan as a genuine convert. They believed she deserved protection. No single centralized decision was ever necessary. Credibility gathered through many small endorsements. Each participant borrowed confidence from somebody else. The papal audience proved especially useful. Yet mere access to Leo XIII was never a forensic review. That distinction faded. Reception became certification of Taxil's entire narrative. Taxil understood this institutional weakness. Institutions seldom verify every detail repeated in their favor. They verify alignment first. His claims named the expected enemy. They echoed accepted spiritual language. They promised privileged access. Those conditions were enough. Even obvious absurdities could then pass as mysteries beyond ordinary experience, not warnings of deliberate fraud. Skeptics remained. Some were Catholics who saw that Taxil's evidence could not withstand direct scrutiny. Questions kept mounting. Where were Palladism's temples? Who had met Diana Vaughan independently? Why did witnesses speak only through intermediaries? Why did supposed insiders misdescribe Masonic structures? Taxil met each challenge with another layer of story. Secrecy accounted for vanished locations. Mortal danger accounted for Vaughan's absence. Compartmentalization explained why ordinary Masons knew nothing. Supernatural intervention explained the impossible. This was no investigation moving toward fewer conclusions. It was a story manufacturing defenses faster than critics could test them. The imbalance favored Taxil. Skeptics faced hundreds of claims. He only had to invent the next clarification. Public disagreement could then be cast as proof of Masonic influence or inadequate faith. Some church authorities stayed cautious. The Vatican never formally declared Palladism authentic. Yet caution carried none of revelation's emotional force. Corrections traveled slowly. The hoax still raced ahead through installments, illustrations, sermons, rumors, and urgent public appeals. Taxil did not work in a vacuum. Other writers enlarged the anti-Masonic mythology. Some were collaborators, some believed it, others had motives that remain uncertain. Domenico Margiotta, an Italian author claiming high-level Masonic experience. He published lurid accusations against prominent lodge leaders. Adriano Lemmi was his chief target. Margiotta's work strengthened claims that Palladism possessed an international command structure. Dr. Charles Hacks lent professional authority to the Dr. Bataille identity. Later accounts blurred how knowingly he participated at each stage. That uncertainty mattered. A successful hoax needs no single secret shared by every contributor. It can enlist opportunists and sincere converts. Publishers join in. So do polemicists and frightened readers. Each supplies material for different reasons. Taxil later cast himself as the satirist, controlling everything. Yet his confession was another performance, crafted to magnify his cleverness. We should resist trading one neat conspiracy for another. The fraud certainly had an author. Yet its enormous reach depended on a crowd. And each person carried different degrees of awareness. By 1896, anti-Masonic activism had gathered enough force to sustain an international congress at Trent. Delegates described Freemasonry as a religious, political, and social menace. Yet Taxil's sensational material faced insistent demands for verification. Diana Vaughan remained the central problem. Admirers wanted to see the celebrated convert in person. Critics wanted a witness capable of answering unscripted questions. Taxil kept sending explanations, statements, and assurances. Vaughan remained hidden. Taxil insisted assassins were hunting her. That defense could postpone exposure, not forever. Even sympathetic observers were growing uneasy with a public figure who appeared only through tightly controlled channels. Taxil now prepared one final maneuver. He announced that Diana Vaughan would appear in Paris during a major public conference. Invitations drew clergy, journalists, skeptics, and curious spectators. Many expected vindication. Others anticipated collapse. Either way, the absent woman had fulfilled her purpose. She concentrated 12 years of claims into one testable event. For the first time, Taxil could no longer answer demands for evidence with another installment. April 19, 1897, brought a packed hall at Paris's Geographic Society for the promised presentation. Diana Vaughan never appeared. Taxil stepped onto the stage and coolly tore apart the world he had constructed. Palladism was fiction. The demonic rites were invented. Vaughan herself was imaginary. He admitted the celebrated conversion campaign was a prolonged hoax aimed at Freemasonry's Catholic enemies. He thanked the clergy and Catholic press. Their publicity had made his deception successful. Taxil cast the fraud as revenge for religious credulity. He also called it an extension of his earlier anti-clerical work. The audience answered with anger, disbelief, and humiliation. Some shouted. Police reportedly shielded Taxil when he departed. Yet that confession was hardly pure transparency. He controlled this performance as well. He chose each disclosure and presented himself as the lone mastermind. Still, one central fact could not be denied. The long-awaited witness had never existed. A conspiracy sold as hidden history had been manufactured through publishing, repetition, and institutional desire. The phrase "Taxil fooled the Vatican" is broadly true. Still, precision matters. Pope Leo XIII received Taxil and encouraged resistance to Freemasonry. Prominent clergy bolstered his reputation. Catholic publications carried his claims across borders. Those endorsements lent the hoax remarkable legitimacy. Yet the Vatican never formally declared Palladism factual. It never authenticated Diana Vaughan or embraced Taxil's mythology as doctrine. Some Catholic writers disputed him before his confession. The institution itself did not possess one mind. It held enthusiasts and skeptics. Cautious administrators and editors competed for influence. This complexity does not excuse the failure. It reveals how that failure became possible. Taxil exploited a climate shaped by real conflict with anti-clerical Masonry. Then he offered allegations beyond the evidence. Crucially, they matched the desired conclusion. After his confession, supporters could blame a lone impostor. Harder questions remain. What standards had welcomed him? The scandal was not merely that church figures trusted a liar. Favorable claims received less scrutiny for a troubling reason. They appeared morally and politically useful. Taxil's confession destroyed Palladism as a credible contemporary revelation. It did not destroy the material. Fabricated quotations assigned to Albert Pike kept circulating. Later writers severed claims from their original publications. They omitted the confession. Then they offered recycled fragments as newly uncovered evidence. Here lies the hoax's final lesson. Falsehood needs no permanent belief to leave permanent influence. It needs archives, repetition, an audience unfamiliar with provenance. Taxil prevailed because he grasped confirmation bias before the phrase became familiar. He gave respected people a story that flattered their judgment. It vindicated their fears. It turned political conflict into cosmic certainty. His mountain absurdities were never simply jokes, they were stress tests. Again and again. Gatekeepers preserved the conclusion by lowering the threshold of proof. The outcome was no supernatural mystery, nor did it prove universal stupidity. It revealed something painfully ordinary. Intelligent people reasoned defensively within institutions under pressure. Diana Vaughan never entered that Paris hall. Yet the conditions that created her have never entirely left us.